And good morning or good afternoon or good evening.
Hi, everybody.
Depending on where you are.
Mm-hmm.
We hope you're doing well. And we're here again because we love to share messages that we believe you need to hear. And today is another conversation, which we titled,
We Really Need Each Other.
Yes, a Rev'd Up conversation about how we really do need each other. I had an experience maybe about a couple weeks ago. Of course, you may know our background is in healthcare, and I currently do work. I work in a hospital setting, and so there was one of my favorite physicians who came over to me and asked me to pray for him because he was going through or about to go through something. And so I was humbled by the request because, you know, a lot of us look at people with titles, people in positions, and we think, oh, they got it all together. And they may, but it doesn't change the fact that they need us, each other, and they may have a need for something. And so I felt honored for him to ask me just for something very simple, and that was a prayer. And so he told me that he was getting ready to go through a procedure, and he was, you know, he would like me to pray for him. So I didn't, and most times when you think about it, when people ask us for things, sometimes we pause to think about, can we provide what they're asking for, or do I need to delay it, defer it, think about it? But in this instance, I knew it was an immediate need for me to pray right then. I think he was asking me for prayers in my prayer time, but I grabbed his hand because I felt his need, and I said the prayer immediately, and the tear rolled down his eye.
Yeah, I bet that really touched him that you took the time out to do it right then and there, as opposed to I'll do it later.
Yes, or as opposed to just saying, oh, okay, sure, yes, I'll pray tonight when I go to bed or later on. But I think, you know, we have to be willing to respond immediately when people ask us for things, because it shows just how much we care, and that's how compassionate we are. So anyway, I went on and said the prayer, and I told in my prayer I asked that God would just, you know, help him, strengthen him, and to help all of the people that touched him in the operating room to deliver the best care possible. It was a simple prayer, but I'm sure it was a prayer that gave him some peace, because that's what I asked for, and some strength. So I think about that often these days. Like I said, that was a couple weeks ago, but because I think about how many of us are in need and how many of us may not ask. And then I also think about how many people ask and the people who are in a position to deliver don't. So it makes me, lately I've just been more in tune with the fact that we do really need each other. You know, we really need each other now, not tomorrow, not in a couple days, but now. And so when somebody comes to you, whether it's in the work environment, home, you know, stranger, you know, and of course, you know, I'm not trying to put you in harm's way, but, you know, think about what you can offer somebody else when they ask immediately and not later. What do you think, Tina?
I think you bring up a good point. Even just going back to what you said in the beginning, that a person who has a title, who maybe have, you know, a specific type of education or whatever they may be, like, in the end, we're all people.
Yep.
I mean, people are people,
Yep.
whether you have different jobs or different skin color or whatever. We're all just
Right.
people, and we're all
People.
going through stuff,
Yep.
right? So, and all of us could use, you know, a little pat in the back or,
Yep.
you know, a helping hand every once in a while. And I totally agree that people come into your life for a reason, whether, and I like to think that even if, you know, every experience may not be positive, but you learn something from it. So
Right.
definitely in my past, I've come across certain people who have come into my life who really have no reason to be there, but they just happen to come in at really pivotal moments,
Yes.
when I'm at my lowest or when I
Yes.
really need some
Yes.
guidance.
Yes.
And you just never know. But they took the time out to come and talk to me, and I think that is one of the most powerful things that you can do.
Right. Yeah, think about even just this morning as Tina came. We have our meetings, our discussions, and we're forming things, or forming our business in such a way to make sure that we consider the people who we know whose lives we touch. But in the middle of our discussion, my daughter called me on my phone and said, "Mom, can you give me some cheese?" I said, "What's wrong? Why can't you get your own cheese? You have legs." Well, she immediately said, "Mom, I told you I wasn't really feeling good yesterday. And so I'm just really exhausted and my back is hurting." And then I caught myself, and it made me feel bad because she did tell me yesterday. So of course we forget, and I don't condemn myself, but I think about how she had an immediate need. And she went on to say, "I need to take my medicine, but I want to eat something before I take it." And so I'm like, "Okay, I'm sorry." So at that point I'm running because I felt like, she shouldn't have had to explain that. And that's the thing too. When people ask you for things, and I'm not talking about, "Hey, give me $100. Hey, give me," and it could be, but I'm not talking about things that are trivial. But when people just ask you for things that you really can easily do and give, don't question it. Just give.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. It's not an inconvenience. Obviously, they're asking for a reason because they need help with something.
Yep.
And something like that is definitely it's an easy task.
Yep. And even if it is an inconvenience, it's okay. Be inconvenienced for a minute. Yeah. You're gonna at one point, the shoe will be on your foot, where you may need something and you want it and need it now, and then if a person responds to you in a shabby, short, long-term way, you will then realize, well, maybe I should have thought twice about all those other requests that others had. Right. And I just, looked at it like, oh, they can wait, or maybe tomorrow. So, you reap what you sow. So if you want to be responded to promptly, you probably need to respond promptly.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, what goes around comes around. Yes, right? The vibes that you put out are the vibes that you're going to get back.
And so, and I think about that in terms of healthcare and in the workplace. There are times when you may be training somebody, because that's one of the things that Tina and I do, and we believe we do it very well. But and somebody is maybe not understanding what it is that you are training or sharing or showing. And so in the course of you having a goal to meet, to get your training done at a certain time, to make sure everybody is competent, you may feel like, hey, I already showed you that. Why should I go over this again and again? I know that probably doesn't sound nice, but I'm being quite transparent in sharing that, because oftentimes that may happen because you're tired or because you've done it. There's nothing wrong with going over it again.
No, not at all. Sometimes it really just takes that repetitive motion. I mean, even when I'm learning something new, I'm not going to pick it up just like that. I really do need someone or something to help me through it over and over again, so that it kind of trains that muscle in your mind. And I mean, the goal of really teaching somebody is for them to understand it, right? So if they're not understanding it, then are you really doing what you're meant to do, what you're supposed to be doing as their trainer or guide or teacher?
And it's a reflection on you, the outcome, your outcomes, like the success of your training. It's a reflection of you and how you respond to those people who are actually asking you for you to repeat something that you trained and they may not be getting. So it's always a reflection on you and how you respond to people, how you give to people, how you train people, and really your response lets you know if you really understand how we really are connected and how we really do need each other.
Right. And I would say sometimes, it's okay to take a pause. Sometimes you need to. That big end goal that you're going for, it'll happen. I mean, it's okay to make sure that everybody's on the same team and on board when
Yeah.
fully understanding what you're all trying to accomplish, because if one person is out of that, little circle, then it's not going to be effective.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that it's we can our takeaway in this particular with this particular discussion, which is of course a revved up conversation about we all need each other, right? We all rely on each other in some capacity, is that you have to understand that excuse me, when you are your best you recognize the needs of others, and then you recognize your role, and so to be your best you have to do things that help you to be your best you. That is meditate, and exercise, and I know we've touched on this before, but I emphasize these things because these are the things that can help you in your wholeness. The basic things, exercising, sleeping, reading your Bible, meditating,
Whatever
stretching,
grounds
yes,
you.
whatever grounds you.
I think that's a good point. I know that we mentioned it before, and it does tie in. If you feel depleted, like you cannot give to other
give
people.
anything.
You can't be empathetic. It's hard to be kind when you feel like you're just tapped out.
Right.
And
Yes.
in another sense, I admit I've been like that too, especially as a mom of two young children.
Yes.
I
have two.
I'm
Yes.
sure all the parents out there
Right.
and all the family members or caretakers,
Right.
you get like that every once in a while. It's because you haven't taken the time to
Right.
really fill up your cup again.
Right.
And it really just changes your outlook. So if you're kind to yourself, you can have the energy,
Yes.
and to be kind to other people.
And it becomes repetitious because as you are more kind to yourself and you recognize how you feel, it's so much easier for you to be kind to others, because first of all, like you said, Tina, you have something to give. You're not depleted. And secondly, you basically that it's a need. It's a need for you to be for somebody, that what you are actually being for yourself, so kind to yourself, being kind to others, and you get it back in more ways. In work, if you're a leader, if you're kind to your staff, they're going to want to give, they're going to want to do, they're going to want to produce, they're going to want to exceed your expectations. But if you're not so kind, and if you seem like well, you probably won't get a very non-productive, maybe even a defiant.
Yeah, it's about
team.
Building that culture. And I think we've had a conversation, maybe it was a day or two ago, about people or managers or leaders or people in authority who only lead by authority.
Yes.
Where it's very top down, and it has that, to me, it feels like a very almost scary kind of culture.
Leader, and I hate to say leader, but yes, culture.
I feel like those types of leaders are they're going with that strongest hand because they don't know how to use other skills, like building their teamwork or their team up, or really taking the time to empathize with their team, to train them, to really get to know their employees. And that is kind of like a coping mechanism almost.
Yes. Yeah. How many of you all have experienced a leader or a boss who is a boss, and they use their authority as a way to, act out leadership?
I know.
They
I have.
don't. Yes.
Over and over.
Where you're like, okay, first of all, your title is director. And all you're doing is directing, like pointing your finger and say, hey, do that, do this, but you are in no way involved in making sure your team feels like they're supported, so that they can accept your instruction and carry it out. But then also that director has a responsibility to be to lead in a way that is showing you're kind, and that you are, of course, ground zero with them to get and want to get things done in a certain kind of way. So, I think it's important. You have to ask yourself, and if you're a leader and you're watching, ask yourself, what kind of leader are you? Are you a leader by title only?
Or by your actions?
Yeah, or by your actions. And do people want to follow you because of the leadership role that you have, not now I mean not the title, but because you lead by example, or do they follow you because they have to?
Right.
I don't want anyone to lead me, and I know sometimes we don't have a choice because it could be but it's temporary. But I don't want anyone to lead me who is not a supportive leader. You know, I want somebody who recognizes, you know, that the need to have grace and to be kind and to be locked in with me. I don't like, and I know I'm using words that probably aren't the best, but I don't like leadership, and I say this from experience, where the person they have a title, but they don't know how to lead. And it's because they don't want to be a part of the solutions and fixing things and making things better or making things flow. They want you to do everything, and they're not supportive in that being, you know, accomplished.
Right. Yeah. And I think it goes back to what type of culture do you want within your organization? Because I know for me personally, and I think for most people within a company or a project team or whatever it may be, are you giving your best self when you're worried about, you know, someone coming down on you? But really, I know for me personally too, I need a lot of freedom to be able to share my ideas and to think of new processes, but to be able to feel comfortable in doing that, you need a specific type of environment where things are open, collaborative, and your manager is supporting you and really listening to, you know, what you have to say and valuing your opinions.
You really get a lot more done when you there's the expression, and it's escaping my mind right now, but you know, it's about, you know, you can catch more
flies with honey than with vinegar.
Yes. So the sweetness that you inject into your culture it can either be repelling, because if it's not really sweetness, it's vinegar, or it can attract people to do way more than you would imagine. And so I know I've had teams of individuals who, you know, were excited about our collaborative efforts, or us completing the assignments together. Because as a leader, I got down right with them and said, okay, here, give it to me, let me show you, so you next time be able to do it. And I didn't want them to feel overwhelmed or stressed. When it's something new and you don't know, and you teach, you want to kindly say, okay, I understand you don't understand. I'm going to show you it again and again, and I'm going to look at the steps that I took to resolve it, and then you'll be able to do it. And it just really builds confidence, and it really lets people know that you know that they know. It really allows people to know that you truly understand that you're needed. They need you, you need them.
Right. And it goes back to our theme, you know, the start of the video. We all need each other.
We need each other. Yep.
We all need to be able to support each other to, you know, do bigger and better, and and to really, you know, be kind to each other.
Yes, absolutely. So I think, I think at the end of the day, you know, that's the message, that's the takeaway we'd like to leave with you, is just remember that you're needed by people that you don't know and people that you do know. So whether it's the physician who asks for a prayer, whether it's a team, one of your employees who asked to be showed again how to do something, or they just need you to understand that today is not such a good day because they have a sick child at home. At the end of the day, you know, we need each other. We need us to be compassionate with each other, to show compassion, I should say.
Yeah, and I would end with, there's a quote that says, like, no act of kindness, no matter how is ever wasted, no matter how small it is. And I'm kind of messing up the quote, but
okay. We may mess up
it.
things, but you know, you should understand our heart.
You get it. Like, no small action is ever wasted.
Yes.
So something that may seem small to you, like taking the moment to help somebody else, could really mean something big for somebody else.
Absolutely. And I think that's good. That's a good way to sum up this topic for today. So we appreciate you, listening, and we hope that you are able to take away what we wanted to leave with you, which is the importance of you knowing how you need to be kind to the next person, and that you know that you are needed by somebody else, and somebody else is needed, that you need.
So you are important.
You are very important. So we hope that you enjoyed this Rev'd Up conversation, and we hope you have a wonderful day, evening, or morning.
Until next time.
Next time. Bye.